Welcome, everybody. Happy Friday. We made it to the end of the week. Oh, boy, what a week. It's July 12, 2024. And, folks, we had the big boy press conference last night for Joe Biden, as well as him promising to give Zelensky some more money. The Dems seem to be jumping ship, and as well as wanting illegal aliens to vote. So that's what's on tap today. WND.com is where you'll find these stories. Let's bring in Josh Turnbow, Elizabeth Farah here. Good day to you both.
Hey, man.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
We've been having mic problems. Hey,
well,
how you doing?
we will soldier on. We will soldier on. Now, okay, folks, we have these clips from. I mean, the clips today we have of Biden. It's clear to me, and let me say this from the onset. I don't think that. I mean, he's been in government for over 50 years, so we know that he knows how government works and the functions and all that. So when he makes a mistake by calling himself or saying that he's getting word from the commander in chief, or he's calling somebody else a different name, we know that it's not because he doesn't know. It's that his brain is deteriorating, and that is the huge problem that we're having here. I mean, wouldn't you say that, folks?
Yeah, absolutely. It's getting to the point now where we were kind of talking about this before, but it's turning into it's both terrifying and at the same time I just can't help but laugh because it's just getting so crazy.
I posted on X when I turned on the big boy press conference, and one of the first things I heard was, I guess it was Trump was the vice president. Zelensky was Putin. And I just put into X, when you hear your president call the president of Ukraine Putin, and then pause. And then you remember the Afghan pullout, the horrible humiliation, shame, and anger that you felt on that day. And you remember it's like no big deal. Of course it's a big deal. But what I'm saying is that his record is so bad, so horrendous, and his incompetence, his negligence. I mean, the Afghan pullout was the deciding factor. I mean, of course, I was always against everything about Joe Biden and his administration, but that sealed the deal. It was over. This man was incapable of doing foreign policy and being the commander in chief of our military forces. And so now when he turns and calls the president of Ukraine Putin, it's almost like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't minimize the fact that his deterioration is escalating, and it's horrific and it's dangerous.
Yes, it is. But in case folks haven't seen the clip, let's watch this clip here. This is clip number 1, I believe. Let's watch that.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
I'm better.
President Putin, what am I saying?
I mean, he's trying to cover up was amazing.
Right, and he actually said to somebody, "Well, I've said his name 4 times, in the last few minutes, so that's why I said
that's why. Yeah.
Sure,
that's okay if I do that."
Sure, we all do that, right?
We do that. But I remember one day standing in the kitchen and I'm looking at the refrigerator and I turned to somebody and my mind's on that refrigerator. I'm saying, would you please put, the dog in the refrigerator? Something ridiculous. Okay.
Right.
I immediately know it. It's not an everyday occurrence. It's not on a national stage. It's not when I'm president of the United States. It's not when I've been prepped to the nth degree by this. A man who's been in this position for this many years knows how, or should know how not to make it. This is dementia. It's Dementiagate from beginning to end.
Yes. Yes. All right. Well, let's see clip number. We watched the Putin. He does it again at his big boy presser when he's trying to refer to Vice President Harris. So let's watch that. That's clip number 3.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president.
He lives rent free, doesn't he?
But okay, the first clip we watch is really, really funny, but it's at a NATO conference,
yes,
which will likely lead to the newest war in Europe, and some people want to call it World War III already, but he can't even get the guy's name right who's going to be part of that war.
This NATO issue is so huge that there's so many aspects to the NATO question, the Ukraine question. It is a very complex issue, not as complex maybe as Israel, but pretty close. And the fact that he cannot go there and represent the United States of America competently from beginning to end is very worrying. Our enemies are watching. We all know this. They are taking glee, but they're also they're going to take steps, or that is the big question. What steps will they take?
Yeah. If you saw your enemy this confused, you would. So like America's a giant, powerful military, entity in the globe. Everybody knows that. They have to be cautious around America, and they always have been, with the exception of like the wars we've gone into against random dictators. But they're all looking at this right now, and they're saying, okay, the giant is stumbling. The head of the giant is disoriented. So they're going to make moves.
And we look like that banana republic, which is one of the worst things. The weakness is displaying this kind of weakness is a real national security threat. It's the prestige of the United States of America that is at risk here. We are the leader of the free world. We want to be the leader of the free world. We don't want to go and force other nations to take on democracy. We don't want to do these proactive, never-ending actions. We don't need to do that, but we still have to be the leader of the free world. That's compromise. But in addition to that, when we have said we are the greatest country on the face of the earth, because of what? Because of our principles, because of self-government, and the fact that the people of America determine who is going to represent them, and that we have free and fair elections and constitutional limitations and separation of powers, balancing. And then we have this man who they knew in 2020 was already in a cognitive decline, but we elected him, well, I won't go into whether we elected
81 million people only.
Power, right? Yeah. Exactly. He took power. And now they're watching on the national stage or international stage that very few people within the White House is willing to accept that there's a cognitive decline. The media has been covering this up all these years. There's so much going on in front of them, but what it says is democracy, which they consider us to be a democracy, we're not, but it doesn't work. And that's what isn't that the president of Iran, or was it the Ayatollah that said that this shows that democracy doesn't work?
Right. Right. Which is why someone like Zelensky is holding his hand out once again, trying to get some more money. Let's go to the actual clip number 1. The producers are awesome behind there bringing up the last clip I was incorrect in calling for it. But let's watch clip number 1 here. This is when Zelensky hearing the news that Biden's offering another dip of taxpayer dollars to Ukraine.
Today I'm proud to announce new security assistance package for Ukraine. This will be the 8th package I've authorized since we've signed the National Security Bill. The Secretary of Defense, we can talk about what the details of all that are. I signed it yesterday or last night, I guess. And we're working with our NATO allies to ensure Ukraine is flying F-16s this summer. And we show the world that we stand with Ukraine now and in the future. So, Mr. President, thank you again for being here. We got a lot of work to do together. And I yield the floor to you.
Incredible.
Did you
He's
see that
reading from
technique?
notes.
Did you see that technique though, right? Like, why the heck is the president listing 3 or 4 things with notes, and Zelensky, like on cue, is like, oh, I'll do the same thing.
I'll get my notes out.
He was adding up. He was adding up all the amounts. He's like, oh, he was like, okay, my wife can buy that new Mercedes. We can get.
He wrote in scratch, new house, new Bugatti.
Right, exactly. Well, the fact that he's on note cards and I could not understand him. I knew what he was talking about. So you can kind of follow along. It's like watching a television show with the volume off. If you've seen that movie before, you can discern. But his slurring of words is very, very concerning as well. I mean, it's just another symptom, but it's also makes I guess the situation ripe for misunderstanding. Who can really understand what he's talking about?
Yeah, no, it's very true.
And reading from a note.
Yeah, well, I was just going to make sure to direct people to WND.com. Bob Unruh's story over there. Big Biden blunders big time. Ukraine President Putin, Vice President Trump. So make sure you follow the article over there and share it around. As there it is right there. Perfect. Okay, folks, I mean, this is just, you know, this is still the same topic, but we're transitioning slightly here because, as you had mentioned, Elizabeth, this is Dementiagate, and we have a clip where of some news folks just a few weeks ago setting up the fact that all of this concern about Biden and his dementia, you know, is absurd. Let's watch the clip.
There's a growing and insidious trend in right-wing media, broadcast, print, and social media. It is to take highly misleading and selectively edited videos of President Biden directly from Republican National Committee social media accounts and then use those videos to spread messages virally to cast doubt on President Biden's fitness for office. Here is this headline from the New York Post, quote, Biden appears to freeze up, has to be led off stage by Obama at Megabucks LA fundraiser. The full video posted by Biden finance chair on Twitter shows something entirely different. Biden reacting to applause and then walking off stage with former President Obama. It comes less than 1 week after the New York Post made a cover out of another piece of deceptively edited tape, calling him meanderer-in-chief due to what they claim was Biden walking away during a skydiving demonstration during the G7 summit last week. The only problem is that the full video, which emerged almost instantly, shows Biden was going over to congratulate one of the skydivers who's cropped out of the video entirely. Both the articles are based on cheap fakes, videos of real events that are intentionally manipulated to fool viewers, released on an RNC opposition research social media account with zero independent fact-checking by these so-called journalists and spread throughout the right-wing ecosystem. And we would take the hand-wringing by right-wing media about Biden's mental fitness in videos intentionally manipulated to make him look unfit, maybe a little more seriously if they weren't radio silent about the repeated glaring and real mental lapses happening behind podiums and on camera on the part of Donald Trump.
Elizabeth, come on, right? I mean, are they actually think we're that dumb?
Well, we just saw the clips and Biden standing there like this, and Obama's doing the Obama thing. That's called being alive, whether I like the guy who's doing it. And he's in a stupor, just kind of like this. And then she actually shows the full clip, well, from a distance, where he grabs his hand or his arm and leads him off stage. So what did she just refute there? And then the next one, the meander-in-chief, when your entire delegation is staring this way, watching whatever they were supposed to be watching, and then you just, like a robot or a zombie, turn away, that's not normal anyway. I mean, even if he was congratulating this guy, and I don't know that he was, where's the clip with his voice? And then the fact that she's calling the so-called journalists and disparaging those that are in reality fact checking the legacy media, because the legacy media is really the so-called journalists, because journalists do not cover up for a president's cognitive decline, the guy with the football, the guy who makes decisions about life and death for even millions of people. They don't cover that up for 3.5, 4 years.
No,
That's the so-called media.
And Josh, we just went through 4 years of Trump where the media did the exact same thing, where they were, I wouldn't even call it the exact same thing, but where they used the very fine people hoax. They used deceptively edited footage where Trump was dumping the fish, the fish food in Japan, and saying, "Oh, he just dumped it in." What else do I have? He injected bleach. That he mocked journalists when he does this. I mean,
how about what did he supposedly call our veterans?
Suckers and losers.
Suckers,
yeah,
and losers.
It's atrocious that they think they can gaslight us.
Remember Dan Quayle? Josh, you may be too young for this. I remember realizing because I don't know, I read something obviously that Dan Quayle, that they clipped him like he doesn't know how to spell potato or tomato or something like this. And then there was another one where he was supposedly checking out of a grocery store and was fascinated by the rubber. Like in the old days, by the way, we didn't have those conveyor belt things. Yeah. That's new. That's a technology. Anyway, but he was like supposed to be amazed at the scanning device. Well, he wasn't. I don't remember what he actually said or what he actually did. It doesn't matter. It was all, talk about a deep fake, a cheap fake. And they repeated that ad nauseum throughout his entire term in office. Yeah. So
yeah,
at the very least, it's childish what that CNN clip shows. It's, I'm not crying, you're crying. I'm not lying, you're lying. It's so childish at this point. And you can kind of see on that stilted reporter's face that she doesn't really love what she's reading because it's a lie. Like, just compare, you mentioned the other Trump examples. Do you remember when his dentures came loose and he kind of mumbled a word and they're like, he's mentally unfit. He's mumbling. That means he has a brain damage issue. Remember that?
When they keep calling, no, I have to admit, I didn't remember that. And by the way, that's not a cognitive decline. I just was checked out that day. But when they keep referring to his Trump's cognitive decline, that is utterly fascinating. It is, when you think of it from a biblical perspective, which we always do at W&D, all of us do. And when you see that the bitter is being called sweet and the sweet bitter, the truth is a lie, the lie is a truth, and evil is good, good is evil, that whole scripture out of Isaiah, the condemnation that comes with that is extraordinary. I don't care who you are, Josh, or myself, you, Matt, anybody, no matter how much they love the Lord, if they start for even a good cause to invert reality, is what this is actually referring to in Isaiah. This has devastating consequences. People then, think about the fallout from calling bittersweet and sweet bitter. The next generation actually thinks that sweet, that cake is bitter, because they've been taught that. It's a virus, a mind virus that runs through the nation or the people group or whatever, and their culture becomes morphed. Reality is no longer true and real. And this sets them up for possibly being turned to do evil because they're being told this is really good. In other words, resistance, rape is resistance. Right? Rape is resistance in the Middle East now. I don't want men in America to start thinking that rape is resistance. I don't want that imprinted on our culture. And this is truly this media, the legacy media, establishment media, I call them, like an established church, is a poison, a venom in the veins of this culture that is so deadly. And this is why WND, I mean, I'm not in the mode of promoting WorldNet Daily, but when we started and founded WorldNet Daily, the only other guy out there was Drudge, right? He had his Drudge Report. He wasn't a journalist or anything. But when Joseph and myself, when we founded WorldNet Daily all those years ago, he was a veteran journalist. He had been editor-in-chief of major metropolitan newspapers. And he voted for Ronald Reagan the second time. But the first time, no, he did not. So he was a lefty when he was going into the news. And his inspiration was when they took down Nixon. He thought, this is what I want to do for a living. So he became a journalist and he ran major metropolitan papers, as I said. And then he realized that newspapers were going to go away. This is years ago. And so in 97, we founded WorldNet Daily. We were the first, we're like the founding father of modern alternative, America First journalism. And our voices, we were the only ones at the beginning, but following in our wake came many, many brave people, talented, courageous, brilliant people. And so there's a huge, or I'd say not huge, but I mean, there's a nice community of colleagues that are in our area of expertise. We have to save every one of these news organizations. That's why supporting WorldNet Daily, I didn't intend to do a commercial here, but supporting independent journalism and the grandfather or the founding father of independent journalism is who we are here at WorldNet Daily. And I think that we are going to only become more and more important because Josh, you and Matt keep saying at the beginning and the end of the show every day that we have it, censorship is coming, and that is a reality, and we need to be prepared for it. This is scary, what we're seeing here, and it's the scariest thing is not the Joe Biden calling Zelensky Putin. It's the machine behind him that will stop at nothing.
That's right. Well, thank you, Elizabeth. That
wasn't in my notes. Sorry, guys.
It needed to be said. It's a great reminder, and for those folks tuning in and watching, that's fantastic. It's great, and we commend you and your partners for getting this thing up and running and being on for so long. Your husband, of course, yes.
I hate that partner thing out of the UK.
Well, I'm sure I was trying to include as many people as you've had over the years. Okay. Yes, it's been on for 30 years almost. We're catching there, right? It's crazy. 30 years. It's amazing. It's crazy. Well, so on that note, though, of course, we are seeing what the legacy meeting is doing because George Clooney then just comes out and publishes an op-ed in the New York Times, basically saying, pull the plug. It's over. It's done. Let's get out of here. I love Joe Biden, but we need a new nominee. And folks have alluded to this. This feels like an Obama operation here. But we were discussing this before we went on the air. Biden has the bully pulpit. He can still claim and hold on to his power. I mean, he's the one that has to say he walks away unless they pull the 25th Amendment. Josh, what else? I mean, what are we seeing here?
Yeah, this goes back to that, incremental steps. Oh, let's take the big celebrity who just hosted an event for Biden weeks ago and have him say, guys, we should have this conversation. He's culpable. He had the best view of Biden in the backstage VIP session of this fawning George Clooney guy. I'm glad he's not making as many movies anymore because he's frankly ridiculous. But also,
so we're going to boycott George. Okay, good. That's how we'll stop all this.
Okay, stop watching the George Clooney movies, people. But now here we go. And he's really just, it's like Mean Girls or something. It's a little clique of it's Biden, Obama trying to puppet him from underneath, circling back to Clooney. So they do their little thing. let's do the Trojan horse of Clooney. Meanwhile, Obama is working overtime in the background to crush everybody. We don't know who he wants in position. Maybe his wife Michael, but now we're going to see this coming week. There'll be another thing. There'll be another voice speaking up, and behind the scenes, like Obama's speechwriter, he kind of leaks some tweets saying, "Oh, we're hearing all kinds of terrible things, and it's the staff's fault." So the blame game is in. The knives are out. I think we're days away of some announcement.
Something.
I don't think so.
Elizabeth. Yeah, please.
I have a different view. I mean, neither one of us know, but the truth is that nobody knows. Even Biden doesn't know. Well, even his wife Jill doesn't know. Nobody really knows. I've taken that view, for 5 minutes here, an hour there. So I'm with you, Josh. But I believe that Joe Biden is an entitled, arrogant elite, and he is a criminal. And this man, the arrogance, the pride, he actually believes. Now, I want you to consider this. He actually believes that he beat Donald Trump. So he took that crown, no matter how many times he tries to imply that former President Trump wants to be king. The reality is that he took that crown. He thinks that what he did was spectacular, that he beat the Donald Trump. 81 million votes. Well, we all know that that's not true. Okay, that's the first thing, but he believes it. So who the heck is anybody else in his mind able to take on Donald J. Trump? Who else has beaten Donald J. Trump? Well, of course, I mean, it's kind of a dumb question, but the reality is he's stubborn. He's mean. He is not a nice person. And we tend to think of, like old gray-haired men as like grandpas, and that they're nice. When you see a grandma, I remember one time evangelizing in Ohio. I was out. I had one of my daughters with me, the youngest. The other girls were debating in a forensic debate tournament. And so I took her out and I'm evangelizing. And I come across a bunch of ladies, and they were so sweet. They just looked like a gaggle of, moms or grandmas. They were so vicious. They turned on me, and it was like I had literally, I don't know what, I just thought I need to do this. It was insane. But you think of grandmas as baking chocolate chip cookies for their kids. None of these things are true. Joe Biden is a bad hombre, and he is going to stay in power if he can. And I know that $90 million is on hold right now, but they'll cave. They'll cave when he stays in power. What are they going to do? Give it to Trump?
Exactly, because they the goal is keeping Trump out. The goal is keeping Trump out. Josh, what do you think?
Just like another thought I would throw to it. I can see your point, Elizabeth, for sure. The one thing that maybe if folks don't understand, I'll just lay out this idea. The leftists, the progressive leftists, they don't actually have objective morality. They have virtue signaling. And so really, like, the only thing that matters to them, I think a lot of folks agree, I believe this, is power. Mm-hmm. All things go toward power. And that's what makes this kind of moment so delicious, frankly, is they are jeopardizing the potential of their own power if Biden stays in, because they believe that Trump will beat him. So that opens all doors for them to do whatever they have to do to keep the power.
But they have a trap door, and the trap door is called election fraud. The trap door is making sure that every single state has been instructed, every welfare department, every intake group. Have you been seeing videos where one in particular that comes to mind is a lawyer for immigrants? And he had an Asian immigrant, and they found out that she had voted, but she didn't know that she wasn't supposed to be voting because somebody handed her a ballot or a registration, and she actually voted. Actually, I think they handed her a ballot. So they proved to sufficiently that she didn't know what she was doing. This person was an alien, not a citizen, and she voted and nobody blinked an eye. It was only when she had gone for an interview. Well, you know what? Finding out that 37 or 3,700 across the country just through some other mechanism, going for an immigration meeting or something, that's not going to be identifying the 2 million that do it, that overturn the election. And I think that that's what they may be. I don't know. I think
this is why Senator Mike Lee has been pushing so hard on the SAVE Act, which we talked about on the last show. But just this morning or late last night, the House passed the SAVE Act. We have the vote tally in a clip as they finished up. I think it's clip number 8 of the vote tally, where all of the Republicans in the House unanimously voted to approve the SAVE Act, which would make it known and give the states the ability to stop illegal aliens from voting in our federal elections. And then Representative the minority leader Hakeem Jeffries let's play what Hakeem Jeffries said, because I want you guys to interpret it for me. But
only citizens can vote for the United States Senate. Only citizens can vote for the presidency of the United States. So this extreme MAGA Republican voter suppression bill is not designed to solve any problem on behalf of the American people. It is designed to jam people up and prevent Americans from voting. The extreme MAGA Republican voter suppression.
What? So the SAVE Act that's trying to stop non-citizens from voting is actually going to stop Americans from voting? Can you explain that to me? Somebody? Anyone? Jump in.
Obvious to me. What about you, Josh?
Well, this is Democrat nonsense. The only thing jammed up is his brain.
Yeah.
Non-citizens, he's essentially saying non-citizens should vote to protect citizens.
Right.
What he's saying, in my humble opinion, is this. Black people aren't smart enough to remember their ID and to go to vote with that ID and get their vote in. And Hispanic Americans and other Americans maybe that were born here, but hey, they're still Hispanic or Black, or maybe are immigrants. They're not competent to actually register vote, have a voter ID, have proper ID, whatever is required, and go to vote. That they can't handle that huge responsibility. It's just too complex. And so what he's saying is this is an attempt. He began with saying that non-citizens can't vote. So what he's saying is they don't vote. They never vote. This is not even a reality that we can contemplate. So since non-citizens do not vote, what is the point of this? The point of this is to trip up Democrats who are incompetent to actually vote with an ID.
Yeah.
And we do not think Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, and other Americans of different races and even genders, I think women can actually vote according and bring our own IDs too. We don't patronize.
Right. Well, unfortunately, after the bill passed the House, it ended up in the Senate where it failed. So we're still back in the same position where we're at, which is whatever Democrat nightmare is upon us. Yeah, that was the article that was over at Gateway Pundit, I believe. Josh, no
worries, everybody. World War III, open voting, a senile, failing president.
Biden said he was going to veto this bill if it were passed. So the Senate stopped it. Yeah. And I don't know the exact mechanism they used, but this is an admission by the White House, by the Biden administration, that they want illegal aliens or any kind of non-citizen to vote. It's an admission. The problem we have is that the average Joe American, my husband Joe hates it when I say average Joe, because he says, why do you always pick on Joes? But anyway, we know that the average American is not able to devote the kind of time that you and I do, and everybody else that's deeply involved with watching and following and analyzing and thinking on these things, right? So you can turn them on a dime. And I'm worried that they're going to rehabilitate Biden, or that whatever other decision that they make, whatever they're able to pull off, that they're going to be able to trick the voting public into believing. And let's not forget the new persona, right? He's the David against the Goliath. The elites are coming against, the Scranton Joe. He's the guy who's for the real people, for blacks and Hispanics and illegal immigrants and everybody else. And it's the big Democrat media elite. And so what does he do? Take a page out of a true populist, Donald Trump, out of his playbook, out of America First, and try to, and they may just try to rehabilitate him that way. That's dangerous for us.
I mean, I can't. I think that might be their only play, especially now. I mean, he's been beat up so bad. The average Joe, as you say, has now seen the emperor without the clothes. The press is turning on him. Everybody is doubting. We are in this big doubting phase, and now we are leading right into the Republican National Convention that kicks off next week, where we are going to see I imagine a plethora of youthful, vibrant patriotism, promise, positivity, and then capping it off, what we expect to be a fantastic speech from Donald Trump, that is just going to be a drastic
and you get
contrast.
To be there. I'm so
yes, and I get to be there.
Talk about that for a minute, Matt, because I didn't even know. We were talking about this. Josh was at my house and yesterday and last Tuesday or Monday or something like that. And we talked about a little bit. I'm not sure how we're doing the show, but very exciting. You're going to be on the ground, boots on the ground, Matt.
Boots on the ground. That's right. Yeah, I'm an alternate for my state of Idaho. I'm based in Idaho, so I'll be an alternate there for Idaho, and I'm excited to go with the delegation and rally for President Trump and meet tons of great conservatives and Republicans from all over the country. So yeah, we'll figure out the logistics of making sure that I bring you some,
because we will be. I don't know if it's going to be live. I'm not sure what we're doing exactly, but it'll be great to have you there, Matt.
Yeah, great. Well, I look forward to it.
Do you remember during the COVID? Oh my gosh, it was so amazing. During COVID, the RNC and the DNC conventions, right? The RNC virtual convention was so spectacular that I was actually riveted the whole time. Do you recall? I mean,
oh, sure.
Speech after speech, the men and women that came out there declaring the principles of the Republican Party and, America First, Donald Trump. It was. I thought I've never seen something this good in my life. I really did. And when did you see the Democrats?
Oh, it was horrible.
It was the
miserable.
most. It was as if the Republicans had produced that convention. You couldn't have gotten
sabotage.
It was insane.
Yeah.
And so what I think about is going into this convention, I know it's going to be great. It's going to be spectacular. But then they cheated.
Yep.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to talk about that on
I don't know.
Am
We'll
I
see.
am I getting
Only
us
on
in
Rumble.
trouble?
Only on Rumble.
Only
yeah.
on
Only
Rumble.
on
So
Rumble.
so
Well, if we-
so we've just been demonetized and kicked off of YouTube. Sorry
Right.
about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well, here's the news, folks. We'll check back on Monday when we come back live, and we'll see if we're all three of us are here or if somebody else is. So,
Sorry.
folks, WND.com. That's where you're going to find the stories that we discussed today. WorldNetDaily.com will also bring you there, and we encourage you, of course, to follow the channel over on Rumble. WND Newsroom on Rumble, and of course on X, WorldNet Daily on X, because as Elizabeth, if she keeps talking about cheating, we're going to be off of YouTube and Facebook soon enough. So please make sure you build an account over there. And then, of course, we had comments coming up throughout the day. So whenever you're watching, go ahead and leave comments, and we'll throw them up on the screen. Thank you again. Have a fantastic weekend, folks. On behalf of Elizabeth and Josh here, we will see you Monday. God bless.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
End of quote.